Alright guys, this is assignment number 4, and I'm gonna do problem number 3, which says 8 divided by 2 times the quantity 5 plus 10. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go through my order of operations, and as I look at my order of operations here, I see that I do in fact on this problem have grouping symbols. So I'm gonna do what's inside those grouping symbols first. So let's go ahead and do that. So this gives me 8 divided by 2 times, and then, I do what's inside the grouping symbols. I take 5 plus 10, and I get 15. Okay? The next thing I'm going to take a look at is I'm going to simplify step 2. I don't have any more grouping symbols. That's done. I'm going to look at step 2, which is simplified powers. Well, I don't have any, so that step is done as well. The next step is to multiply and divide in order from left to right. Well, I do have both multiplication and division, and as I look at this, I see that the first thing I come across in order from left to right happens to be division. So I'm going to simplify my division first, and this gives me 4, and I'm left with times 15. Then I'm going to do, obviously do my multiplication next. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do my multiplication, and I have 4 times 5, and 4 times 5, sure enough, gives me 60. So that's the first problem. Take a look at it again, right? First thing I did was to go back, look at my order of operations. First thing was the grouping. Well, sure enough, I did my grouping first. Then I simplified powers. Well, I didn't have any. Then I did my multiplication in order from left to right. Well, the first thing that came up left to right here was division, so I did the division first, as you see here. I did the, let's see here if I can find what I'm looking for. No, I don't want to do that. Hold on one second. Let's see here. I'm going to come over here, and that's not what I wanted either. I'm like making a mess now, guys. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I did my 8 divided by 2 first, which gave me 4. And then finally, I did the last step, which was multiplication. 4 times 5 gives me 60, and I am done. And so ends the first slide of this video you have to watch. Okay, so I'm going to do 11 and 12 for you right here, just because I want you to see the difference between the two, what the parentheses do. If you notice, right, you have, this is a times. I copied it wrong. That's a times, and this is a minus here. So I have 2 times 8 minus 6 squared in 11, but in 12 I have 2 times the quantity 8 minus 6 squared. So let's look at how those end up being different. So let's figure out 11 first. So I go through my order of operations once again, and I look and I say, do I have any grouping symbols in 11? And the answer to that one is no. So for number 11, I don't have to do so for number 11, I'm over here, and I have no step 1, right? So I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to go now to step 2, which says to simplify powers. So sure enough, I do have powers I need to simplify. So let's go ahead and do that. So I guess I should grab a pen. 2 times 8, and then it's going to be minus, and I'm going to simplify that power, and I'm going to take excuse me, 6 squared, and I'm going to write it as 36. Okay, I don't have any more powers to do, so that step is done. So the next step I'm going to look at is going ahead and multiplying and dividing in order from left to right. Well, I see here that, sure enough, I do have multiplication right here that has to get done. So, and that's the first thing that shows up, so let's go ahead and get that over with. Well, 2 times 8, that gives me 16, and I'm left with 16, gosh darn it, minus 36. Okay, when I look at this, I'm going to rewrite this as a, now I don't have any more multiplication or division, so I'm going to do all my addition and subtraction from left to right. Well, 16 minus 6 is going to give me, let's grab a different color here just for fun. And this is going to give me here a negative 20. All right. And if I come over here and I do the next one, you know, what I end up with is I have to take a look here, and I'm going to do all my grouping. Well, I notice that inside my grouping, I still have to look at order of operations because I have two operations inside those parentheses. I have the squared and I have subtraction. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to simplify the power inside my grouping first. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, so let's go ahead and do that. And this gives me 2 times the quantity 8 minus, and now I'm going to go ahead and simplify my square, and that gives me 36. All right. And now I still have to perform here what's left inside my grouping. So that's going to give me 2 times, and I'm going to finish what's inside those symbols here. And I have 8 minus 36, which gives me a negative 24. And now I'm going to do the last thing, which is, of course, to multiply. And I have 2 times 24, which is 48. I have a negative times a positive, so that gives me a negative 48 for my final answer. So you can see I have the same numbers, but the parentheses, right, I have the 2 and the 2, the 8, the 6 squared, the 6 squared. But by adding the grouping symbols here, right, I get a totally different answer than I did here. So what's going to happen now is you're going to get a quiz tomorrow. I'm going to ask you some questions about what I did on the video. Something you might expect to hear from me is how did adding the parentheses in number 12 change the outcome from number 11, something like that. And then I'll ask you something from the first video as well. But you do get an extra credit question, so if you know what I drew right here, then you get extra credit. So let's see here, let me grab a color. So, you know what, I'm going to actually be super fancy. I'm going to choose this. So, you know, I made for you a bunch of hearts. So your extra credit's going to be, what did I draw for you? And the answer to that would be 3 hearts. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. You'll have another one tomorrow, and I'm done.